This Saturday, August 12th, MLB Betting Picks Show edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content, and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And we're also brought to you by Parlay Play. Parlay Play is a lead pipe locking for parlaying player props. Go to parlayplay.io and use promo code SGP for a 100% deposit bonus today. Welcome, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Friday, August 11th, currently 5:04 on the East Coast. Here to talk about our MLB betting picks for the Saturday schedule. We'll give you our lock, dog, and total. And we'll also talk about some division races as we do weekly. I know the American League has all three divisions within, I think, like 2 games of each other. So we'll briefly touch on those. Maybe we can find some tickets, some value tickets on those division races. But joining me here to help me break it all down, you guys know him as the voice of the NFL Gambling Podcast, and of course here on the MLB Gambling Podcast, it's Dylan Rockford. D-Rock, how you feeling this Friday, my man?
I'm doing well. Beautiful day over here in Jersey. It's the start of the Premier League as well, so we cashed the Man City plus -1.5. So yeah, we're off to a good Friday afternoon. Can't wait to get into these games with you.
Yeah, Man City first half overs last season was such a cash cow for me. I almost felt like it was like finding money in the streets, like Mel likes to say. So yeah, hopefully the first half over got there again today. They scored 2 in the first half. Both by Holland. And yeah, man, Premier League is back. It's makes Saturday mornings a lot more fun. And then lo and behold, 3 weeks away from the college football season. So
wow,
yeah, it's that time of the year where we're all excited for football being back and all that great stuff. But hey, we're still going to be grinding out MLB. I don't care what anyone says. We're going to be grinding out MLB. We're going to try to find some winners for you guys. You know how we do it. Like I mentioned, we'll give our lock, dog, and total for the Saturday games. Shout out to the chat. Got some new faces in there. Got the usual suspects as well. Randy and King Tut, usual faces. Got Johnny Boy in there as well. And E4 Nadi Usama's in there as well. So appreciate you guys joining the chat. D-Rock, let's kick it off, man, with our picks. Why don't we start with the total, and then we'll work our way to our dog pick and then for our locks. Why don't you lead us off with your total? What do you got for the Saturday games?
Yeah, so we'll start with the total. I'm going to take the over 9.5 with the Rockies and Dodgers game. I made my total 10.3. Basically, I'm just going to fade both pitchers in this spot. Just look at Peter Lambert's last 2 starts. His hard hit rate in both of those games have been over 40% in both of them. 9 runs given up in 8 innings for him in the month of August so far. Walks are also an issue for him. You just can't do that against a team like the Dodgers, who have been rolling right now. 7 of their last 10. They're averaging 6 runs per game in their last week. That's just not a good recipe. And to be honest, Tony Gonsolin on the other side, he hasn't been good either. He's given up 4 or more runs in 7 of his last 9 starts. I honestly think this game could be a shootout. You know, both teams have gone over this total in 3 of their last 5 games. We also have wind blowing out into center field tomorrow night, so that should help us as well. Don't care who gets the win, but I just need some runs. I think we see a shootout here. So I'm going to go over 9.5 at even money.
Yeah, if you take a look at Tony Gonsolin, I know I've talked about this multiple times on the show, that he was pretty much an automatic bet on the run line at Dodger Stadium when he was pitching at home. But also, just take a look at his total numbers. 6-3 to the over this season at Dodger Stadium is Tony Gonsolin. The Dodgers are averaging close to 7 runs per game when he does start for the Dodgers, and that's a lot of run support for a guy. For any pitcher for that matter. But also giving up close to 4 runs as well when Tony Gonsolin is on the mound. So that equates to about 10.5 just right there. And like you mentioned it, I think this Dodger lineup. We talk about it year in and year out. They're just so good up and down the lineup. They used to have the big, sexy names, but at that top of that lineup, when we talk about 2 former MVPs and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, just forget about it. And then, Will Smith having a decent season. I know Max Muncy's batting average hasn't been there this season, but he does have that power bat where he can, at any given point, he can put one over the fence. And the Rockies, they've been sneaky as well. They can put up some runs here as well. And like you mentioned, Gonsolin hasn't been that same pitcher um, this season as he has been, as we're kind of used to seeing over the past several seasons. So, yeah, between these two teams, NL West division teams, especially with the Dodgers offense that's been cooking, yeah, I couldn't talk you off of it here, D-Rock. Last game for Tony Gonsolin, San Diego, but this was on the road. He did allowed 6 earned runs. And prior to that, 3 out of his last 4 starts, he allowed at least 4 earned runs to the opposition. And 3 out of the last 4 games, the total runs scored has been 11 or more in 3 of those last 4 games. So I'm with you there on this total. All right, let me go over to my total pick of the Saturday games. I am going to go with the under 8.5 with the Chicago Cubs and the Toronto Blue Jays game. We have Justin Steele on the mound for the Chicago Cubbies, and then I'm seeing Chris Bassett is getting the start here for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll start here with Justin Steele. He's having a phenomenal year. He's up there in the Cy Young awards market in the National League. I think he's the 4th, or he's tied for the 3rd favorite with Spencer Strider. But on the season, 13-3 with a 2.68 ERA. Over his last 5 games, he's 4-1 with a 3.03 ERA. On the road this season, he's made 8 starts. In those 8 starts, he's 4-1 with a 2.70 ERA. The Cubs have won 4 straight starts when he is on the mound. Going over to Chris Bassett's side, I think this is what really stuck out to me here. So Chris Bassett, I'll start with his stats here. Overall at home, he's been a really good pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's 6-2 with a 2.54 ERA. When I dug a little deeper, he's made 11 home starts for the Toronto Blue Jays. The under in those games is 9-1-1 towards the under. And Jays this season have been one of the best teams towards the under, especially in their home games. 3rd best team towards the under in their home games at 32-18-4 at 64%, and the 2nd best team towards the under overall this season at 58.6%. Over their last 15 games, the under is 13-2 as well. I know they've been missing Bo Bichette at the top of the lineup as well. So I think both pitchers, this could turn into a pitching duel, and I hope it does for the sake of my bet. I thought 8.5 was a little high here for the form that these two pitchers are in, especially if you look at their splits as well. So I'm going to back a trend here with the Jays as the 3rd best home team, 64% towards the under at home, and 13-2 is the under in their last 15 games overall here, D-Rock. So under 8.5 for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, money's already coming in. I see 8 starting to pop up as well. So get 8.5 while you can. I made my total 8.1. I do think we see a pitcher's duel. You want to back Chris Bassett at home, and Justin Steele, I mean, 13-3 on the year, 2.68 ERA, and even on the road, I think he's been just as good. 4-1. Mm-hmm. Batters are only hitting 231 off of him. So yeah, I could definitely see maybe like a first 5 under as well. You even got Kevin Kiermaier out for the Blue Jays as well. And I've talked about this the whole season. Blue Jays, we just think of them as an over team with their lineup, but they're 8-2 towards the under in their last 10. They're 66-44 on the year toward the under. So they're just a dead under team right now. So yeah, I love that play.
All right, before we get over to our dog picks for the Saturday games, let me tell everyone about the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon page. Sign up for the Patreon to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL Win Totals contest with a $1,000 first place prize. Besides season-long contests, they also have weekly contests just for patrons, plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, completely ad-free and full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. There's even a Discord channel just for patrons. Only you can prevent corporate gambling. Do your part and sign up today. Support the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And all you got to do to get all the details is go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. All right, D-Rock, let's get over to our dog picks for the Saturday games. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so for the dog game, man, this one stinks, but give me the home puppy, Kansas City Royals on the money line.
I was looking at that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't pass it up. I was able to get a plus 142. It's down to plus 138 right now, but that's still too big of a number, to be honest. I only made the Cardinals a minus 120 favorite. I'm just not a Steven Matz fan, especially on the road. I get it. He has improved since July, but he hasn't improved that much where he should be this big of a favorite. The Cardinals have played a little better since the All-Star break, but they're still just 5-5 in their last 10. 26-32 straight up on the road. They split the 2-game series back in May where the Royals blew them out in the first game, and then they lost a close 2-1 game in the second one. So it's not like the Cardinals are blowing them out. Cole Ragans, on the other hand, he's been good as you could get since coming over from Texas. He's only allowed 2 runs in 17 2/3 innings in his first 3 starts with the Royals, and 2 of those 3 starts have been in Kansas City. His hard hit rate in those games, 18% and 13% against the Mets and Rays. So I think if Ragans can continue to limit batters, get ground balls, I think he gives the Royals the best chance and opportunity to win this game. So I think it's much closer of a game than people expect or the odds are indicating. So give me the home pup here. Kansas City on the money line, plus 138.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I was looking at this as well. So I think it's a pure value play as well. Like you mentioned, I don't think Steven Matz should be this big of a favorite, even if it's the St. Louis Cardinals. I know they're having a really bad season this year, but and I know the Royals are the Royals, but I mean, they had a stretch where they won 7 games in a row against the Mets and the Twins. I know they've lost 5 out of their last 6 games, but this Cardinals team, like you mentioned, it's just not very good. I know, like you mentioned, that Steven Matz has been in better form over his last 5 games, but this Royals team is feisty, man. They're gonna put up runs. They're gonna fight till the end. And again, I just can't trust this Cardinals team right now either. So as a pure value play, whether you get at plus 138, plus 140, plus 142, again, shop around. You'll find the best number there. I think it's a pure value play here on the Kansas City Royals. All right, for my dog pick, I am going to go to that NL West game between the Padres and the Diamondbacks. And I'm going to take I'm going to take the Arizona Diamondbacks on the run line here, minus 1.5. I know Zach Gallen is on the mound here, but this is pretty much a fade of Rich Hill. And I went back in the database that I use to look at how Rich Hill has done against the Diamondbacks in his career. And I don't know if it's a heat that gets to Rich Hill, but in his entire career against the Diamondbacks, he's made a total of, let me see, I'm trying to pull it up. He's made a total of 15 starts in his career. He's 3-12, his teams are 3-12 straight up in those 15 starts against the Diamondbacks. On the run line, the minus 1.5 run line, they're 1-10. And on the minus 1.5 run line, they're 0-1. So more recently, I know this goes all the way back to 2005. He's faced the Diamondbacks once already this year, and it was the same matchup against Zach Gallen. And the Diamondbacks won that game 7-3 behind a good performance from Zach Gallen. They match up here on Saturday. And Rich Hill in his last start against, I believe it was the Dodgers, got roughed up in that game as well. He gave up 6 earned runs in 3 innings pitched. Over his last 5 games, 0-2 with a 6.38 ERA. And like I mentioned earlier this season, in just 4 innings, the Diamondbacks were able to get 5 earned runs off of Rich Hill here. Zach Gallen, again, at home, that's the place that we do trust him on the season. He is 11-5 with a 3.37 ERA. One of the favorites in the National League for the Cy Young Award. Has faltered a little bit over his last 5 starts where he is 0-2 with a 4.60 ERA. But like I mentioned, he's already made 2 starts this season against the Padres. He has a 2.77 ERA in those 2 starts. 13 total innings pitched in those 2 starts. He's allowed only 4 earned runs to the San Diego Padres. And at home this season, 9-1 with a 1.96 ERA in 11 starts this season for Zach Gallen. So I know the Diamondbacks have not been doing very well since the All-Star break or even since the trade deadline. But you have your best pitcher on the mound here. He's at home. He's 9-2 straight up. He's 8-2 on the minus 1.5 run line at plus 125. I'll take that to the bank against his Padres team. So my dog pick, Diamondbacks -1.5, +124 with Zach Gallen on the mound here, D-Rock.
Yeah, I like the play at +125. I'm even seeing +127s, +128s out there. So shop around. But yeah, I love the play. I mean, they got to turn it around sometime, right? Like
Yeah.
I know the Padres have lost 4 in a row, but Arizona 1-9 in their last 10. But you're right, at home, Zach Gallen with their ace, and he's just fantastic at home. And that was the stat I was really looking at. His head-to-head in those 2 starts against the Padres, especially the one at home where he only allowed 2 hits and didn't even allow a run, 7 innings. I mean, that was a masterclass. That was back in April, but I think there's still some value there against a Padres team where, they mentioned in the chat, they have some quit in them right now. So don't really, if I want to back them, but no, I get your angle, and they got to turn it around sometime. So I do like this play on pure value.
I think it's something similar to what I think you guys talked about. I know Mal was on the Mets -1.5 with when Kodai Senga was on the mound at home at Citi Field, right? I know the Mets have been doing terrible over the past couple of weeks, but the spot to back the Mets was with Senga at home, and I think this is a similar spot with Zach Gallen on the mound as the best pitcher for the Diamondbacks at home to get this done against the Padres. So yeah, I'm glad you're in agreement with me there. All right, before we get to our lock picks for the Saturday games, let me tell everyone about the newest sponsor on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That is Parlay Play. We're brought to you by Parlay Play. Parlay Play is a great way to get down on your favorite parlayed player props. Football season is right around the corner, and Parlay Play will have all of your favorite props. Parlay Play is available in a ton of states, including California and Texas. Plus, our good friends up north, Parlay Play is available in a bunch of provinces in Canada. And when you sign up with our code, you'll get a sweet bonus to get started. Head over to parlayplay.io and make sure to use that promo code SGP for a 100% deposit bonus of up to $100. Again, that's parlayplay.io, but make sure you use that promo code SGP. All right, D-Rock, let's get into our lock picks for the Saturday games. Why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, don't look now, but Mariners, they've won 9 of their last 10 games, just 1.5 games out of the AL wildcard slot. The Orioles, they're just two. They did lose just 2 of their last 3 games to the Astros. And, I think this is a good spot for the Mariners to keep it rolling. I made them a -170 favorite against Cole Irving and the Orioles. Got them at a -125. I think I'm seeing right now -145, -148. I still like them. Cole Irvin's just not really someone I want to back on the road. 0-2 with a 5.30 ERA. And I know he usually is a kind of a spot starter. He only goes a few innings, but I just haven't liked what I've seen from this Orioles bullpen the past few games, especially against that series against Houston. While the Mariners, they've quietly had the second best bullpen in the majors. George Kirby, like we know, he's another guy. We just mentioned Zach Gallen, who you want to back at home. George Kirby's another guy you want to back at home. 6-3 this season. Batters only hitting 227 off of him. And the Mariners 5-1 in the last 6 home starts for George Kirby. So better pitcher, hotter team. Don't look now, but the Mariners might sneak into the playoffs, and I think this is another good spot for them. So give me the Mariners on the money line here.
Yeah, I mean, so the fact that you mentioned that George Kirby's at home here for the Seattle Mariners, where this season he's just been so good in Seattle, 6-3 with 3.34 ERA and 11 starts. He's only allowed 25 earned runs in 67 1/3 innings pitched. And he's done really well against AL East teams as well. I know he just has a 2-2 record, but he has a 2.03 ERA. Only allowed 9 earned runs to those AL East teams in 6 starts this season. The Mariners have won 4 straight games when he's on the mound, and has been pretty good offenses. His last start against the Angels, 7 innings, he only allowed 1 earned run. He faced the Red Sox, 5 innings, only allowed 4 hits, 1 earned run. So back-to-back starts where he's only allowed 1 earned run each to the opposition. So at this price, I know the Baltimore Orioles have been they've been playing some good baseball, but I just think this is a spot where you do have the better pitcher on the mound with George Kirby. So with George Kirby at home, I can't argue against that. All right, for my lock pick, I am going to go with the Boston Red Sox on the run line, -1.5, -105. And they are hosting the Detroit Tigers this weekend. Matt Manning is going to be on the mound for the Detroit Tigers, and Brian Bello is getting the start for the Boston Red Sox. You take a look at, let's start here with Matt Manning. Just hasn't been very good thus far this season. And I'll start with his numbers here at 3-4 record with a 5.06 ERA. But over his last 5 starts, the Tigers are 0-3 with a 6.66 ERA for Matt Manning. He's allowed 18 earned runs in just 24 and one-third innings pitched. The Tigers have lost 4 straight starts when Manning is on the mound over his last 4 games. And each of those games, they've lost by at least 2 earned runs. Last start was against the Tampa Bay Rays. They lost 10-6. They lost to the Pirates 4-1. 11-4 against the Angels, and 14-3 against the San Diego Padres. His last start, he allowed 6 earned runs to the Tampa Bay Rays. And he's allowed at least 4 earned runs in 3 straight starts to the opposition. While Brian Bello has kind of been the opposite. He's been really good this season, probably the most consistent pitcher this season for the Boston Red Sox. Maybe you could throw James Paxton into that conversation as well. But he had one rough outing against the Oakland A's. And then he faced some pretty good offenses in the Braves and also the Mariners, like we just talked about, who are just playing some great baseball right now. But the Red Sox have won 4 of his last 5 starts, and all 4 of those wins have come by at least 2 earned runs in that span. And you take a look at what he's done this season at home for the Boston Red Sox in, let's see here, 15 starts at home. They are 8-7, but those 4 of those 8 wins have come by at least minus 1.5 runs, at least 2 earned runs. So they've won 4 of his last 5 starts at home. They've all been by 2+ runs. You have the better team here. I think you have the better pitcher. You have the better offense. And I think the Red Sox bats will get to Matt Manning here, who's in bad form. So I'll take the Red Sox to win by at least 2 earned runs here. Minus 1.5, minus 105 as my lock pick for the Saturday games here, D-Rock.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, they've kind of regressed a little bit, the Red Sox. They started really hot after the All-Star break, while they've regressed a little, but I still think they're the better team. I know Tigers, they've won 3 in a row, and let's not forget, the Red Sox swept the Tigers back in June, so they're the much better team at home. And you're right. I think a few pods ago, I think you and I think maybe early July, we were talking and we were like, hey, we like the short dog price with Matt Manning. And then he's rattled off 4 losses in a row. So he's kind of reverted back to his old ways, like losses against Pittsburgh, where I'm looking at his hard hit rate. It's over 45%. He got clamored against the Angels as well. So yeah, I don't like it. And if you just look at Bello's numbers, yeah, he's 4-4 at home, but the numbers don't indicate how good he has been at home. Hard hit rate against the Kansas City last home start, 35%. Against the Braves, it was a little higher at 62. Mm-hmm. But if you look at Texas, one of the best teams, it was at 36%. Miami, 27. So he gets a lot of ground balls, and you mentioned 3 of the last 4 home starts for them, they have won by 2 or more. So yeah, I can't argue the price, especially if you're getting a minus 105. So yeah, I like that play as well.
Yeah, so I did misspeak. He's made 11 home starts this season, and the Red Sox are 7-4 in those games. The stat that I gave out earlier was including last season as well, but just this season alone, 7-4 straight up are the Red Sox in his starts, and then I think they're 4-2 on the run line when Bello is on the mound this season at home. All right, Dylan, let's talk about some of these standings that we see right now, especially in the American League. And like we mentioned, there's some tight races coming down the finish line here. Still, there's a lot of baseball left to be played, but I think the one division that has been decided, we say this every single week, is pretty much that's wrapped up, is the NL East division, where the Braves right now have a 9.5 game lead against the Phillies. The league that lead has shrunk a little bit, but I think they're just coasting at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Phillies will be able to catch them. But just looking at the American League right now, let's start here. We'll quickly just kind of go through this. American League right now, let's start with the East Division here. Now, we knew that Baltimore took over the division lead against the Tampa Bay Rays, where the Rays are now 3 games back of the Baltimore Orioles. Currently, let me pull up the division odds here. Let's see. Futures division winner. All right, here we go. So the Orioles are a minus 190 favorite to win the AL East. Right now, the Rays are plus 220 to win the division here. I personally just think that the Orioles, just because I know they're playing some great baseball right now, uh, they have the sixth easiest schedule remaining. And they have one series against the Tampa Bay Rays left here where they'll go head to head. So I know that will be circled for the Tampa Bay Rays, but I don't think that they'll be able to catch up the Baltimore Orioles here. They're just playing some really good baseball right now. And for them to have the sixth easiest schedule where Tampa has the seventh most difficult schedule left, I think that they'll probably run away with this division here, D-Rock.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a two-team race down the stretch between the Rays and Baltimore. I'm glad Baltimore added another arm. They needed it at the deadline. I still think they could use another arm, especially in their bullpen, but I like them. They're very aggressive at the plate, and I think they will win it. I'm seeing minus 210, and what worries me about Tampa is, we just saw Shane McClanahan. He's out for the season as well, so that just hurts. I was hearing rumblings maybe last week. Is Glass now returning soon? But he was on the IL as well. So I know they picked up a pitcher during the deadline as well. But they're backing the Tampa Bay Rays on the road is very concerning to me. I like them at home. They're a wagon at home. But when they get on the road, they're just not really a team I feel all that confident with. And against 500 and better teams, so basically playoff teams, essentially, they're only 38 and 34. They're just sitting at just above 500 as opposed to the Baltimore Orioles, where they're 48 and 37. So they beat on really good teams and they come to play, which I don't necessarily think the Tampa Bay Rays do. So, yeah, I think they run away with it. I know it's only 3 games they're leading right now, but I like them right now. I see even minus 220s out there. So if you could get a minus 190, I like that as well.
Yeah, Glasnow did get scratched from his start on Sunday due to back spasms, but from what I'm reading, they're optimistic that he'll be able to make his start on Saturday. It seems like for the Rays. So again, if for whatever reason he does have a setback and it's more serious than we think right now, that could be really troubling for this Rays team. Yeah. So I think the more intriguing division is the next 2 ones, and getting over to the most boring division, I think, in the entire MLB, the AL Central. The Twins right now have a 3.5 game lead over the Cleveland Guardians, and this lead has also shrunk a little bit. I want to say they had a 6 game lead, if I'm not mistaken, did the Twins. The Twins have lost 3 games in a row as of Friday before the game start. I did pick up a flyer at 12-1 a couple weeks ago, just because I thought that at that time, it was a 6 game lead, a 5 or 6 game lead for the Twins. But at 12-1, with that many games left at that time, I just thought it was a flyer to pick up. So I did pick them up. Now, currently, the Twins are still a minus 500 favorite to win this AL Central division, and the Guardians are plus 450 right now. But I think the Guardians, they are dealing with a lot of injuries, right? We know Shane Bieber is probably done for the rest of the season. They traded Aaron Savali over to the Rays like we just discussed. We saw the whole brawl and all that stuff with, Ramirez getting, suspended and all that. But I don't know, man. Do you think the Guardians have a chance here to make this at least competitive? I mean, 3.5 games back right now doesn't seem like a big stretch because that could change in a matter of a week here, Dylan.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, anything could change within a 3 game stretch. It's just one series. So I do think there's a chance, and I'm seeing them to just make the playoffs, which essentially they would have to win the division, plus 630. I think it's worth a flyer. I mean, you got obviously the way better number at 12-1, but their run differential does worry me. We mentioned it a few pods ago where their offense has quietly picked up, but then they fell back to their old ways. And I don't know. I mean, I do think the Twins are just a tad better, but if Cleveland started playing like they were about maybe 3-4 weeks ago, they could be a very dangerous team, and I like backing them at home. Just on the road just really, really hurts me. So
yeah.
I'm not as confident. I do like the 12-1. If it was still there, I think it is worth a flyer just because it's just one series and these 2 teams will play each other down the stretch. So it could come down to that head-to-head matchup. But I do think the Twins are a little better of a team. There's just no value in them right now. But if you believe in the Guardians, plus 630, plus 650 to make the playoffs and win the division, I think it's worth a flyer.
Yeah, and also the Twins do have the seventh easiest schedule remaining for the season. They have games against three against the A's, three against the Rockies, three against the Pirates, two against the Tigers, four against the White Sox, and three against the Mets.
Hmm.
And they're tough games. They have, let's see here, seven against the Rangers, three against the Rays, three against the Phillies, and then they have Angels and the Reds as tough opponents. But I think you can probably take the Reds out of that equation. But and again, the Guardians have the fifth most difficult schedule remaining. But you know, it's sports.
Yeah.
It's the MLB. Anything can happen. The last division in this AL American League race is the or division race, I should say, is the AL West division. And I think this one is a little more intriguing because if you shopped around at the right time, you probably could have gotten 2+ money odds bets and kind of had it like, I guess, an arbitrage between the Rangers and the Astros. So currently on DraftKings, the Rangers are the minus 105 favorite right now to win this division. The Astros are right there at plus 115. If you want to go a little bit down the ladder, you have the Mariners, who are 5.5 games out right now, that are sitting at 9-1. Currently, the Astros are 2.5 games back of the Rangers. Both teams have been playing some good baseball. I'll even throw the Mariners in there. We just talked about. They're playing some great baseball. So the Rangers over the last 10 games are 8-2. The Astros are 7-3, and the Mariners are 9-1 over their last 10 games. And I think if you kind of look at the strength of schedule remaining for both of the or all three of these teams, Seattle right now has the fourth easiest schedule remaining. The Astros have the fifth easiest schedule remaining. And the Astros and Rangers do have one series left this season where they do play. I believe that's in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. The thing that's working against the Texas Rangers right now, Dylan, is that they have the 11th most difficult schedule remaining. So they have 10 games left in their division. Three are against, so I'm sorry, they have 13 games left in the division. Three are against the Astros, three are against the A's, and they have 7 games left against the Mariners. So, it might be, and they also have 4 against the Toronto Blue Jays. If that is worth anything, but I think that at the end of the day, and it might just sound like a homer pick, but I think the Astros probably catch the Rangers at some point. And I did like the move that they did make, bringing Verlander back. He gets his first start for the Astros, back at home at least. I know he faced the Yankees his first start back with the Astros after the trade deadline, but this Astros team is healthy. We talked about this when we did the second half preview that they were going to get Jordan and Jose Altuve back. Both those guys are back. Yainer Diaz, their catcher, has been raking. I know they still have Martin Maldonado starting when Justin Verlander's out there, but Kyle Tucker is another guy that we haven't really talked about on this podcast who's been absolutely just ripping the cover off of the ball for this Astros team. So, I mean, 1 through 6, 1 through 7, this hitting lineup is absolutely dangerous. And we can say the same thing about the Rangers as well, because they've been one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the entire MLB this season. But I'll be the homer guy. Maybe you can talk me out of it, and maybe you like the Rangers to win this division this year, D-Rock.
No, I agree. I got the so I'm playing it a little differently. I got the Houston Astros about a week before the All-Star break to win the AL at plus 500. I think I said it on the pod, and it just came down to, I think they were down about 6-7 games at the time, and then right before the All-Star break, the Rangers kind of regressed a little bit. I just think on pure value at plus 500, they have the experience. I knew they were going to make a move. I like Justin Verlander way better than I did Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer still gives up a lot of contact. Look at his first few starts with the Texas Rangers. He's still giving up runs. And I just think the familiarity with Houston, they have the experience where Texas, they'll get into the playoffs. I don't question that. But when they do get in, I don't think they have the experience and what it takes, even to go against the Rays or Baltimore or even Seattle. They have experience in the playoffs more than the Rangers do right now. So I just think the experience with the Houston, I love their lineup. We saw that they were going to get better when Yordan Alvarez came back, and Jose Altuve especially. And yeah, I think you're right. Kyle Tucker's been going under the radar this season. He's just absolutely wrecking the ball. But yeah, I just think they're the better team. And coming down the stretch, they have an easier schedule. And I think Texas and Seattle are going to beat up on each other. and that's just going to make Houston have a direct path to win the division. Right now, you could get them to win the division at plus 110. I like it. You're still getting plus money. I'm not going to touch anything just because I have a plus 500 ticket to win the AL, but I really think they're the best team in the AL right now, pitching wise, hitting, and they're getting hot at the right moment. This is what we talk about, not like the Rays, who started off with one of the best opening month to a month and a half in the MLB, but it's how you finish. And Houston always finds ways to finish. And I think they have the managerial experience too with Dusty Baker. So I love Houston. I think they will win the division, and I also think they'll represent the AL as well.
Yeah, I did pick up a 10-1 ticket on the Astros to win the World Series. That price was there for a while as well, but give a lot of credit to this Rangers team, right? They still went out and they traded for Max Scherzer to add to that front line of that bullpen, and we might be having a different conversation right now if Jacob deGrom was able to stay healthy.
100%.
For this Rangers pitching rotation, because the back end of those guys, I mean, Nathan Eovaldi has had an incredible season. Dane Dunning has been really good as well. So 1 through 5, this Rangers rotation, if Jacob deGrom was healthy, they would probably be one of the best in the American League as well, paired with that offense. So, I mean, if you're a Rangers fan after the years of being absolutely terrible, I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Rangers fan. So again, I just feel like this is going to be one of those races that probably maybe does come down to the final week of the regular season, and we'll see what happens. But
I also, real quick, I just don't trust the Rangers bullpen as well. It's very concerning. They're in the bottom 5 in the league, and a lot of blown save opportunities where we know Houston is they have a very good bullpen, much better than the Rangers. So that was another factor that kind of persuaded me to take them to win the AL as well.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. All right, so that is going to do it for this edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast. A little turbo episode like we like to do on Fridays for the Saturday games. D-Rock, anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, real quick, the NL Central, I think 3-team race between the Brewers, Cubs, and Reds. I think the NL wildcard just in general, I know we talked about the NL East not really being a factor. I don't think the NL West either is really a factor. I think the Dodgers will run away with it. But yeah, I am keeping my eye on the NL wildcard race as well. Right now, you got the Phillies in the first spot, Giants in the second, and Marlins literally holding on by a thread for the last spot. But the Cubs, Reds, and D-backs are all within 3 games of the Fish. Yeah. And I think the Cubs at plus, I got them at plus money right now. They're at minus 154 to make the playoffs. And I honestly think they're going to get this last spot, because you just look at it. And, I had it written down here. The Cubs.
I'm sorry. I think we could throw the Padres into that conversation as well. I know they're only 4.5 games back of that of the Marlins, but the problem I think I have with the Cubs, I think Scott brought this up last week as well, is their pitching rotation really makes me nervous for both the Cubs and the Reds, right? Like Justin Steele, he's having a phenomenal year, right? Cy Young worthy year. But after that, Marcus Stroman went on the IL. I don't trust Kyle Hendricks. Drew Smiley got moved to the bullpen. Unless one of these, young guys, really steps up for this Cubs team, I'm not sold on it. I think that if they do get into the playoffs as a wild card, and I'm not sure, I don't think this is correlated. This might be biased because I'm holding that Justin Steele Cy Young ticket, but I think that you have to maybe reward them in some way because again, Justin Steele is right now carrying his pitching rotation. And again, when the Cubs are in the playoffs, it's fun, right? We saw when they won the World Series title about 6-7 years ago after breaking that drought. I think the Reds are out of it right now. Just again, I think they have a worse pitching situation right now than the Cubs do. Diamondbacks have lost 8 in a row, like we've talked about. The Padres have now lost 4 in a row, but yeah, I think it's going to be a fun race to watch. But you were talking about the Cubs, man.
No, I just think they're the only one with a positive run differential as well, and they're and with the Marlins, those 1-run games scare me, and I think going down this stretch, I don't think this is a good spot for them as well. The Cubs, they got a couple games against the Giants, the D-backs who are not playing good. So, it's going to come down to a lot of games head to head. So, I like the Cubs right now. If you look at the D-backs, like we said, they've lost 8 in a row, negative 21 run differential. San Francisco, I think, will get in. I think they are a good club.
Mhm.
But the Cincinnati Reds, I'm done with them. I'm not backing them anymore. They've fucked me too many times. Negative 28 run differential. And Miami, negative 38 run differential. While the Cubs, yeah, I agree with the pitching. It does scare me, but they still have a plus 66 run differential. They actually are the only team in the NL Central to have a positive run differential.
That's
I think
crazy.
I think they could actually sneak out and win the division, because I really don't trust Milwaukee and their bats. I think the Cubs have a much better lineup than the Brewers. So it all comes down to the pitching. The pitching is definitely on the side of Milwaukee. So I think it's going to come down to the last few games, and they do play each other as well. So I think the Cubs have a shot not only to make the playoffs, but to win the NL Central as well.
The thing that the Cubs have on their side, they have the third easiest schedule remaining in the entire MLB. They have 3 games left against the Royals. They have 6 against the Rockies, 2 against the White Sox. They have 7 games still left against the Pirates, 3 against the Tigers, and they have 7 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks as well. So schedule definitely favors them. They're plus 230 right now to win the division, where they're sitting 2.5 games back. I don't hate it, man. Again, I'm rooting for this Cubs team as well. It's always a big if for the Milwaukee Brewers for them to get their bats going. I know they got Brandon Woodruff back. That's always a big boost for your pitching rotation and how good Corbin Burns has been. But I wish that the Cubs would have made a move to acquire another arm in that pitching rotation to put with Justin Steele, and eventually if Marcus Stroman does come back for this Cubs team. So the National League wild card race is going to be a fun one to watch down the stretch. Did you have anything else for the National League there, D-Rock?
No, I just wanted to point that out real quick because, like we said, the NL East, it's Atlanta's just cruising. I know they're 5-5 in their last 10, and Philly is playing good baseball right now, but they're just cruising right now. They're trying not to have injuries going into the postseason. And the Dodgers, we remember when Arizona was in first place a while back. Now they're 11.5 out. They're just a complete fade as well. But yeah, I actually think San Francisco's playing some good baseball as well. But yeah, Dodgers going to win. So the only real thing to take advantage of is that wild card division or the NL Central, like we just talked about.
Yeah, again, and these standings just change week to week. When we get on these Friday pods and talk about the division races and the wild card races as well. So that's gonna be something that we'll keep an eye on for sure weekly as we kind of progress and try to get to the finish line of this MLB season. About 40 some odd games left for each team in the entire MLB. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast. Make sure to smash that like button if you are watching us on YouTube Live. And if you haven't already subscribed to the MLB Gambling Podcast YouTube channel, please go and do so. And if you haven't already, join the Patreon page for the Sports Gambling Podcast. Do us a favor. If you want to support the network, that's greatly appreciated. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, you can follow us at MLB SGPN, or I should say, follow us on X at MLB SGPN, and on Instagram, MLB Gambling Podcast. Make sure to follow Dylan on Twitter at Rock with 2Ks, ROCKK24. You can follow me on Twitter at SportsNerd824. We'll be back Sunday evening at the same time to handicap the games for Monday. So look out for us then. Appreciate everybody in the chat. TVDBJ, we had Johnny Boy, some new faces in the chat as well. Randy was in there as well. So appreciate you guys. King Tuck as well. Thank you guys so much. You guys always make the show fly by and keep it entertaining for us. Good luck with your bets this weekend. Let's break these books off and let it ride.